Well, Bashar al-Assad's government is responding to the U.S. airstrike on a Syrian air base. American warships launched 59 cruise missiles overnight. The mission was in retaliation for a nerve gas attack blamed on the Syrian government that killed more than 80 civilians. Assad is calling the strike, quote, foolish and irresponsible behavior. Thomas Gibbons-Neff is a national security reporter at the Washington Post and joins me now. Thomas, what are you hearing from your sources? How successful was this strike, and were they able to hit all their targets?
Right. I mean, thanks for having me. It depends on who you ask. The Pentagon is saying that they fired 59 missiles and 59 hit their targets. They had 2 malfunction. One failed to launch, and one landed in the ocean. There's been some reports on social media that maybe a few have fallen short, or one at least had fallen in a northern province in Syria. And also, the Russian government said half missed their targets. That being said, social media, satellite imagery provided by the Pentagon, and just ground reports have shown that there definitely were strikes. Parts of the airfield were hit, but at the same time, Tomahawks, they have a 1,000-pound warhead. They can only do so much against a hardened target like a bunker or an air shelter. So it looks like there was definitely some damage, but at the same time, there's been videos of planes already taking off from the airfield. So it really depends on who you ask. I think that the Pentagon would characterize it as successful, and if you ask the Syrian Air Force, I think they're probably flying just as they would today as they would any other day.
Part of having a game plan with this is also anticipating what the next move might be on the opposite side. What's the sense that people believe might happen next, especially with Russia and Iran involved in this?
Right, and that remains to be seen. I think today there's going to be a lot of takes about what's going to happen next. Posturing, is Russia going to beef up its defenses, its forces in Syria? Is there going to be retaliatory strikes on U.S. forces on the ground? I mean, we don't know. I mean, there was a national or a Security Council meeting at the UN today, and this is getting fleshed out, but really only time will tell, and I think there's just going to be a lot of speculation.
Is there any sense of gauging how President Xi, who's visiting President Trump down in Florida today, a two-day meeting, any sense of how he feels on the North Korea issue and whether this might get him to cooperate more so than in previous months?
I mean, it's hard to conflate, what's going on in Syria versus what's happening in North Korea. I mean, as far as what I've seen coming out of there, maybe there's some impetus for doing this strike in front of Xi to kind of telegraph, how serious we are about taking unilateral action. But beyond that, I can only speculate.
What are people in the national security community saying about this strike?
I mean, it's a Tomahawk cruise missile strike. We've seen these over, since 1991, kind of one-off hard power events that kind of show that we're serious about X, but at the same time it isn't a broad air campaign. It's not ground forces. It's very much symbolic as far as committing resources and blowing up an airfield. Beyond that, I mean, you saw Secretary of State Rex Tillerson saying that this doesn't change our Syria policy. Well, you had the Security Council, the head of the Security Council, General H.R. McMaster, saying that this is a significant move. So I mean, it's hard to tell if everyone's speaking from the same side or one voice. And again, it's going to take a couple days to figure out what this means for our Syria policy going forward. Obviously, something has definitely changed. You can't really deny that, but as far as how much our thinking has, it remains to be seen.
We know that Russia has condemned the airstrikes, but what do you think this means for Russia? Any sense of where this relationship is going with that country?
I mean, Russia has said that this is definitely strained, or that it's completely degraded our relationship, but at the same time, the Pentagon has said that we're still deconflicting, meaning we're having our military officers talking to Russian officers about ensuring our planes are avoiding each other in the air over Syria, and as far as going forward, I mean, I think it's probably going to be a war of words and hopefully little action.
Do you think that last night's strike means that the U.S. plans, this White House plans to be more militarily involved with Russia? Excuse me, with Syria?
Again, we don't really know, right? I mean, what if Assad decides to launch another chemical attack tomorrow? What does that mean? Are we going to blow up another airfield? Are we going to go one step farther? it remains to be seen. Obviously, this starts the road of setting a precedent of military action against the Assad regime. So again, I mean, this is pretty uncharted waters.
Yeah, it certainly is. Thomas Gibbons-Neff from the Washington Post, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.